So it's 1 o'clock. No one's on Zoom. So do you guys want me to do my normal spiel or do you want me to do DocuSign or something else? Because just the two of y'all for now.
Let's all go back for a spot.
Okay, perfect. Sure. So do you have everything signed? Like, do you have your login information? I know you do, but for DocuSign and Command, and you got all that? Perfect. Okay. All right. Because it'll be a lot easier to follow, just making sure that you do have that login information. Okay. So I'll kind of just start with the basics and I'll do like a kind of like brief overview. And then if you want me to dive into something a little bit deeper, just let me know. And I tend to talk fast, so I apologize. Tell me to slow down or repeat. You will not hurt my feelings. Okay, so the first thing about Command that a lot of people don't realize when you log in, so you have your home page, and yours may look a little bit different because you can customize it over here. But I always like to have tasks first, so I know what I need to do that day as soon as I log in. But over here on the left-hand side, you'll see a red square with a white KW. If you click that, it actually has the names of what all these icons are, so that you can get used to the icons and what means what. So that's very helpful because you don't always know what a hand-holding thing is, but that is your opportunities, and that will be where you do all of your transactions. But you can't do a transaction without a contact. So I'm going to do a brief little synopsis here from what I did last week. Obviously, this is my list of contacts. I have an entire team, so don't be, weirded out with seeing all of this stuff. Yes, we have 15,000, but we also have a bunch of people on our team, so they're all dipped in here. But biggest thing is when you create a contact, which is this button over here, try to get this out of the way a little bit more. Obviously, you'll see the red asterisks. Those are things that you have to put in there, right? But we want to at least see a full name, an email, and a phone number. And then if you do have their current mailing address, put that in there as well. Okay, which you can do that if you scroll down, additional contact information, and then that's where you would put any addresses that you have. Okay, all addresses are pulled from the app Nextdoor. Okay, so if Nextdoor doesn't necessarily recognize it, so some of these like really rural addresses, they come up looking a little funky, or they don't pull up, as they should normally, that's okay. It's fine. Put in what you can. And then you can always, right underneath in this little section, type in anything additional. It's meant for apartments and units, but if you need to add southwest, south, north, or something like that, this is the spot to do that. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this is once you create your contact, you're going to have this health score. Okay. You want it in green. Green means you have a good contact where you can communicate with them on multiple levels, which is what you want, right? If you don't have an email address, you can't send out anything email. You can't send out drip campaigns. If you don't have a phone number, you can't automate text messages. Okay. And an address. So this guy, we inputted his address as 12321 Lookout Point. It populated this neighborhood, Hampton Place. Again, these neighborhoods come from Nextdoor. So not all neighborhoods are going to be recognized. And again, rural things that are not in neighborhoods, nothing may come up. That's not a problem. You would just click on Add Neighborhood and then click on Find on Map. And then you can zoom in and click on the neighborhoods that you want. Okay? Absolutely. And you want to. You want to do at least 10. And here's the reason why. There is a smart plan. It's called the Neighborhood Monthly Nurture or something like that. What it does is every month it will send an email to your client that looks like this. And it talks about any activity, real estate, for any of the neighborhoods you selected every month. So not every neighborhood has activity every single month, but the neighborhood beside you might. The neighborhood behind you might. So select as many as you can so that you're not automatically sending them an email with no new information. So the more you put in there, the more they're going to want to read this, right? If they get 2 months and there's nothing in there, they're not going to look at them anymore. Okay. And I also suggest too, if you know this particular person and they're just a looky-loo, put in Valentine, some $1 million neighborhoods, neighborhoods on the lake or something like that. Who doesn't want to look at those houses, right? So you can easily add those in as well, which you just go find on map, and then you're just going to move it around until you find what you're looking for, and you can select anything that you want. Okay. So the more, the better. If you have a spouse, son, mother, cousin, whatever, business partner, you can link your contacts together. The best part about this is you can have multiple, right? And they're always going to show up down here where it has the relationships section. And I'll show you when you go in here where you need to add those. So the first one you can add is going to be right under the full name. Okay. Now, keep in mind, you'll put in, say, the husband first. And then you'll go in and put the wife's contact information. And when you put in the wife's contact information, then you can connect her to the husband who was already inputted. Make sense? You can't connect them unless you have actually both contacts put in the system. Okay. And then you have all these different connections that you can do: stepchild, parent-in-law, partner, business partner, all kinds of options. And please do as many as you can if you have those people. All right. You want to touch as many people as possible. But if you do have more than one connection, so this is a husband and wife, say I needed to add, I don't know, a cousin or something like that, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and click the About. And this is where you can add additional relationships, and you can add as many as you want. Okay. The benefits for that is twofold, right? You're going to be able to send the husband and the wife the same monthly neighborhood update, right? So they would be able to talk about and communicate it. Hey, did you get that email from Dom today? Like, did you see that $1 million house? Blah, blah, blah. The conversations will start be having. But also you can scroll down here and go straight from one profile to the other without having to go and search and type out the name. If you can't remember the wife's name, just scroll down. It'll be at the bottom, right? That way you can link those together. Once you have put in a contact and or a spouse or something along those lines, the next thing you should do is come over to Smart Plans. This one is the one I was talking about, the monthly neighborhood nurture. So once you do have that address and those neighborhoods picked, please make sure that you do add this Smart Plan. And you literally just click on Add to Smart Plan. You can start typing neighborhood and it will populate for you. There is a bi-weekly update. I would not do that unless you have somebody specifically wanting it more frequent. Less chance of things popping up if you're not doing it, So but that's where you add that, and that will set them up automatically for them to get those updates every month. Well, yeah, once you put in the address and the neighborhoods, you do need to come over here and add to Smart Plan, add them to the neighborhood Smart Plan, and then you don't need to do anything. But here's the caveat: if there's not an email address on that contact, you cannot send them an email. So when you go to try and add the Smart Plan, it'll tell you, I can't, the system will say, I can't do the Smart Plan. There's no email for me to send it to. So just kind of keep that in mind. I do love the trigger where it tells you, hold up, you forgot the email. But sometimes you just don't have it either. So you're kind of limited on that option. Yes, there is an unsubscribe button. And then the unsubscribe, do what? Yes, it will tell you. Let me show you. So I'll actually show you what it looks like. There you go. Undeliverable. It means it's a bad email. And that's the circle right here. And then the unsubscribe is a triangle. Here we go. They have unsubscribed, which makes sense as another KW agent. They don't want to get all of our emails, so I understand, right? But that's what it will look like. And I'll show you when you come in here, it'll say unsubscribe when you actually go into the contact. And your timeline over here will say that it was undelivered because he unsubscribed. So you've got a few different ways of recognizing if somebody's unsubscribed. You can go into your smart plans and hit delete. Sometimes it actually does that automatically. If the only smart plan you have is only an email type smart plan, it may go ahead and kick it off the smart plan anyway, since they unsubscribed. Some smart plans, though, are more than just emails. If you sign up for Twilio, it's only $12 a month and you get like, I don't know, 6,000 text messages or something. It's unreal. And they roll over. So if you don't use them all, they'll just keep adding up. We have, I think, 20,000 Twilio text messages saved up, but
What?
what do you mean by that?
So,
Mm-hmm. The automatic text message. Mm-hmm. No. So you can, as long as you have enough of your text messages in your kitty, essentially, it'll keep sending them out based on your smart plan. Now they can opt out of those too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it will.
so if you get alert, then you sign up. Well, is that kind of how that works?
No, so automated text messages will not go out unless you do sign up and pay for Twilio. Yeah. Yep. Nope. Yep. And it's $12 a month. It's not gonna like it's break the penny, but you could sign up for 1 month that it probably might last you for like 6 months. So sign up, get your month worth, unsubscribe or whatever, and you'll have your kitty, right? That amount on there because it will continue rolling over. But you have that option too. But the workaround with that too is if you don't want to get Twilio, you can assign yourself a task that says for you to physically go in and text them yourself. So you can still keep that spot in the smart plan. Um, but you'll have to do it versus it being automatically done. Yeah. Yeah. And some smart plans are just email. Some of them are just text messages. Some of them have a multitude of all of those and tasks. Like for birthdays, if you've got somebody's birthday, there is a birthday smart plan. It'll tell you the day of their birthday to comment on their social media. A week before, it'll tell you to send out a birthday card. It will automatically send out a birthday text. So it kind of has a whole realm of different things depending on what you want to do there. Okay. So that's kind of the basics of the contacts. Obviously, the more information you put in here, the better. Okay. Because if you get a notification, say you have a task come up that says, hey, it's been 3 months, you need to call these people. You can come over here to your notes section. And you can see the last time you contacted them, what kind of contact that was. The notes is also a great way to write their kids' names or their pets' names, or hey, these people are in a bike club or something like that. So that when you do contact these people again, you are remembering their personal information. You can say, oh, how was Sally's first day of kindergarten, right? Stuff like that. So just make sure you also maximize the notes section of those kinds of things. All right, any questions about contacts? All right, so I'm going to go to the smart plans real quick. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to create a smart plan, but I'm going to teach you how to utilize the smart plans that have already been created. If you want to create your own smart plan, set a time with Leah. Okay. I am not creative, but I'm good at stealing other people's ideas and making it my own. Yes. Right.
Get it.
Yeah.
Now, let us see my long-term nature and midterm.
Yeah, so those are the basic ones that Keller Williams provides you with from the beginning, right? We have a lot more. We do use Julia Designs for our marketing. They create our email newsletters and stuff like that. We pay them to do that. But up here at the top right, you're not going to see team plans, but you should see a button that says library. Okay, if you click on that, these are smart plans created by other agents, whether they're in our market center or in California or in the Philippines, wherever it is. These are smart plans that other people have created. So if you have something in mind, you're like, hey, I'm part of this rescue group for you know, animals or whatever, and you want to send some kind of smart plan out to all the people that you meet through there, come in here. You can just type in whatever you want. I've done this before and I couldn't find one with like dog, but maybe there's a pet one. But it will come up, you know, with all these different smart plans that you can look at and see if you want them. It doesn't necessarily go into super detail here, but it tells you a general idea. So I'm just gonna look at this one. Okay, it says view steps. So the first step is a task, which looks like it says prepare closing gift. Okay, and then you get a task that says to call them, and then do a FaceTime call is the next one, and order housewarming basket. You know, that this is just this particular one. Now, if you have one that has like emails in it, so this one says to send a text message. Okay, so this is an automated with Twilio, right? This is what the text message is going to say, and it's going to fill in the agent's name. So it would be from you, right? And do that. So that's what this one is. And then send an email. We cannot view the email until we add the smart plan. I've been hoping they're going to change this so we can get a better idea of what all is in here. But if you like this, you can add the smart plan and then it will come to your list. And then that's when you can go in and edit it, put in your information, put in Keller Williams Valentine, all that kind of stuff. But what I like about this library as well is you can see how long this smart plan goes, how many touches there are, how many people have used this smart plan, right? So this one only has 7 downloads. This one over here on the right has 63 downloads, which tells me I should probably pick this one, right? And again, you can see a general idea. So you can see the subject of the emails, right? But you can't see the full scope. But anyway, this kind of gets, here's National Pet Day one, right? So you can manipulate these the way that you want to, okay? And that's what we've done for a lot of hours as well. This right here, when you just go to this button right here, you can see how many people are currently on that smart plan. That's what this is. There's 9 people currently on this smart plan. And then you can edit them. Over here is the pencil that you can go in and update it, change it, whatever you want. You can remove days, remove tasks, add tasks, change what they say, all that kind of good stuff. But this is where you would do all that. And one thing I also want to talk about is something called triggers. Okay. This is where you probably heard the word tag, right? Tag your contacts. The big thing with tags is it's a form of organizing your contacts. So we have, I don't know, I think 100 and something different tags that we have for people. Some are just buyer, some are just seller. Some of them are the whiskey, wine, and fire event that we went to. So it actually says whiskey, wine, and fire because that's where we met them. You can do it at, 123 Main Street open house. That can be a tag as well. So it's however you want to organize. And you want to do that from the beginning. As soon as you create that contact, you want to be able to go ahead and organize them as best as you can. Because let's go back to the dog one, right? Say you have a dog event that's coming up, whether it's an adoption event or there's an event called Paws in the Park that's in Pineville every year in April. All right, I want to send out a notification to people who I know have pets, right? So that they know to bring them to this event and they can get some cool gear and all that kind of good stuff. All right, you don't want to necessarily send that to your entire database, especially if you know people like is allergic to cats or something like that. They don't want to see that. So that's why you want to kind of organize it and keep it together, especially if you're going to choose something similar to that, like as your niche, right? If you want to work with seniors, right? Or and I don't know, I'm trying to think of different things, but if you're a workout freak and you go to the Y every day and you want to keep everybody that you meet at the Y all together, right? And you can have as many tags on one contact as you want. I have somebody I was just looking at the other day, I think it has 9 tags on it because they're constantly involved with our team. They come to many different events, so I want to make sure that they are included in that. With that being said, you can use a tag as a trigger, meaning once you tag them, and this is my past client smart plan, So whenever I tag one of my contacts as a past client, that tag is a trigger for the smart plan. So the smart plan automatically starts. It just saves the extra step of actually going and picking it from the smart plan drop down, right? Um, but you can do that as well. You do not have to use triggers. But this is where the trigger is. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my contacts real quick so you can get a better idea of the tags. These are tags. So like I said, there's the Whiskey, Wine, and Fire from 2024. They went to our Buena Vida golf tournament. This person speaks Spanish, past client. They went to our Charlotte Knights event. We do a lot with the Charlotte Knights. We have tables there 5 times a year. So each event that we have, it gets its own tag. See, this one's an agent. This is a referral partner. So we have every possible thing you can think of in regards to tags, and we constantly get new ones. See, here's the Pause in the Park from 2022. One of the people on our team, Zach, his mom works for the bus drivers in Fort Mill. So he's done seminars specifically for bus drivers about how they can purchase a home. So that's what he is catering to since he has an in with his mom, right? So just make sure you get used to doing these tags to create them. I'm not going to go in super detail, but if you click on your name up here and you go to settings, command settings, contacts, I know it's a lot here, but contact tags, this is where you would go to create it. Okay, you can also create tags for your opportunities in the same way. Sorry. Opportunity settings, you can create tags here as well. And I'll show you that in a second. So opportunities are your transactions and how you want to organize those. Okay. It does give you some default tags, which I think like buyer, seller, allied resource, maybe. But I think agent is one of them or something like that. So you have basic ones already in there. So that's something you can at least start with. You can always add tags after the fact too. It's just a lot easier while you're setting up your database to go ahead and get those organized if you know you're going to be working with something in particular. And that's how you can also utilize your filters. You can filter by tags, which is probably going to be the most way that you do access your contacts and organize them. Hey, I need everybody who was at the pool party. So let me go ahead and filter by that, and I can pull all those names up and do it that way. All right, any other questions about contacts? I know it was kind of quick, but yeah, go ahead. No, it's not. I already know it's
Trying to add smart plan.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And makes you create a unique name.
Yes.
Is there kind of like a typical?
No, I think well, it used to default to whatever that smart plan was, and then the word my was at the beginning. But no, whatever makes sense to you. Yeah, and however you're going to remember it. Think about it this way. You're going to have to search for that smart plan when you're setting up your contacts. So it needs to be something that's going to trigger, like neighborhood, simple, quick, easy. You know that that's the one that you need for the monthly neighborhood thing. So that's probably the best way I can explain trying to name the smart plans. Yeah.
Like no one else is gonna see.
Nope, these are yours. Strictly for you. Unless you want to at some point public it, but you can still leave it as your name if you want to put your smart plan in the library as well. All right, so I'm going to now go to opportunities, which is the hand holding icon. Okay. This is where you're going to start your transactions. You cannot have a transaction without having a contact first. Okay. So there's 2 ways you can create an opportunity. You can actually go to the opportunity tag and hit create opportunity, but you can also do it straight from the contact. So if you're in the contact and you want to just go ahead and start the opportunity, you can click on the opportunity button here and hit create opportunity. It takes you to the exact same thing. So if you go to create opportunity, again, this is for your transaction. So this is now you're ready to create some paperwork, right? Either if it's a buyer, you need to do your buyer paperwork. If it's a seller, you got to get your listing paperwork ready so you can go to your consultation, your presentation to send to them. Okay. So you're going to
Jenna,
start. Yeah.
hey, is there any way you can share your screen? The
Is it
screen
not
that you're,
sharing?
no, I just see the chairs.
Oh, no. Okay. Hold on.
Sorry, thank you.
No, no. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah,
Well, it says it's sharing it.
I understand it, but I'm not that.
Ah,
I can't memorize it like that.
is it showing now?
Yeah, hey, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for telling me because I had no idea.
You're welcome.
All right. So you're going to do your opportunity type. Obviously, if it's a listing or a buyer, you should not be working with landlords or tenants. So don't select those. Um, and then you're going to pick your client. And again, we've been doing Larry Perez. You would just start typing in his name, which apparently I forgot the L. And it will come up on the drop down. And then if there's a spouse or whatever, it should automatically pull it. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. But if there is a spouse, it will. It will default to an opportunity name for you. So I'm gonna just put Larry in here. We'll just make one up. It will default to whoever your first contact is, and then it'll say dash buyer or dash listing. You can keep that name if you want to. You can change it. Again, it's your opportunity. It's how you're going to organize your system. I can tell you how we do it. If it's a buyer, I usually do Larry and Susie. We'll just pretend that's the wife's name, dash buyer. And then once we go under contract on a house, I will come back in and take buyer out and I'll do 123 Main Street. Because what if this person's going to buy multiple houses from you? What if they're planning on selling it next year? Like if they're going to be doing multiple transactions, you need to keep it better organized. And then for sellers, obviously, I just go ahead and do Larry and Susie 123 Main because I already have that address. Okay.
Jen, I have a
And then,
question.
yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Hopefully it's not going to complicate people. I have a seller and we're in the due diligence phase. They got accepted, but we had to change the name of the buyer because the attorney, it's in a trust. So the
Uh-huh.
attorney wanted me to change the name. And so what I was doing is I was changing it after I put the document in the envelope and I was sending it and I created the name there and I was having problems with being able to, send the document. So should I have gone back to the opportunity and add a buyer, or can I change the way the
Who do you represent? Do you represent the buyer or the seller?
I represent the seller.
Then the buyer is supposed to make the changes, not you. So if something changes with the lender on the buyer side, it's their responsibility to make the change and then send it to you to have your people initial that change or sign the amendment or whatever it is. It shouldn't be your responsibility. Now, if you're just trying to be nice and help them out because their agent is somewhere else, that's fine. But just letting you know that that should not fall on you if you don't represent that client. But if you're there's a couple different ways how you can is this North Carolina or South Carolina?
And it's North Carolina. Maybe I may have confused you. Um, the buyer's attorney wanted to change the trust name. We have been using a different trust name.
Oh,
And
so you're the buyer's attorney wants you
yes,
to change the seller's information.
yes. I'm sorry if I
Okay.
said
And
wrong.
you
Yeah,
made it seem like it was the buyer that was making the change. Okay. No,
sorry.
that's fine. So there's two different ways that you can do it. You said it's North Carolina?
Yes.
Okay. You can actually do a strike through in DocuSign and
Uh-huh.
then correct it, or you can do the 4T form, the agreement to amend, where you actually just say that you're changing this to this.
Yeah. When it
So,
came to I guess assigning the name, um, I just changed it when I pulled up my contacts and I hadn't created the contact. I just went and said add and said like add seller. I added the whole name there of the trust. Is that the correct way to put that? Or do I have to go back and create a whole new?
Yeah, you can do that. Technically, it's not necessary to do it that way. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about when you're actually inputting like the email address and stuff.
Yeah.
You can do it that way, but you don't have to because that is particularly just for the person who is signing. So, if the person that's signing is the same person, it's just the name on the contract is changing. You
Yeah.
don't have to change that. You just need to change the contract
Okay.
because it's still the same person signing. So it's going to be the same initials. It's going to be the same signature.
Okay.
It's just
All right.
the name part. That makes sense?
Yeah, I got it. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I probably confusing everybody. I appreciate it.
Okay. Sidebar, no problem. Right.
Mhm.
So if you want to do custom tags, you can add those here. I do them once I know like my listing paperwork's been approved, my under contract stuff's been approved. I put that stuff in here, and I put who it belongs to on my team just to make it easier for me to see it. But you don't have to do any of those contact tags. So once you have it, you're gonna these I call them business cards. I don't know what the legal name for these are, but you can move them from one section to another. Those I want to tell you, so yours are going to look different up here because I've created my own phases. I get them mixed up. So these are stages: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, closed. And within each of these, you have phases. I think for cultivate for you guys, I think it's like hot and nurture or something like that. You can keep those or you can change them. But if you want to change them, you can do that up here. And you probably won't change them until you get deep into this and know how you want to run your business. So don't stress about that. But I do have a list of everything that we've named, our checklist that we have for all of these. So if you guys just want a copy just to kind of have something to look at, just shoot me an email. My email's jenna@soldbykennedy.com. So if you want to kind of just get an idea of how we do that, because I do checklists for everything. For instance, we're going to go to this one real quick. This just happens to be, this listing went under contract, right? So over here, I have a checklist that I've set up. And it's literally a checklist. Did you complete your commission form? Did you receive the signed acknowledgement? Was the appraisal received? Was a copy of the inspection completed? Repair negotiations, amendments, all that kind of stuff. This is so that me and the agent on the team can track the progress, right? So some of these say it's the admin's responsibility and some of them are the agent's responsibility. And then you just come over here and you just check them off as you have them completed. Okay. And I have those checklists for every stage. But it's literally just taking you from the beginning of a transaction all the way till after closing of what steps you need to make. Okay. The ones I think are just automatically put in there are just kind of the basic stuff. All right, so you put a contact in and now you're ready to do some paperwork. What do you do now? All right. So this is one that I've already created and it's just, obviously it's a test. It's a basic one, right? This one happens to be a listing. If you're in a buyer one, it's going to look a little bit different, not a huge difference. But if you have the address, please make sure that you put that in here. It will autofill to DocuSign as long as you have that information in here. That way you do not have to put the address in here later. Okay. Over here on the right-hand side, you can track your dates. So when did you schedule the appointment? I scheduled the appointment on Tuesday for a Friday appointment. So you can track your progress. And there is a report section within Command that can show you your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your progress, how quickly you're going from appointment set to appointment gone on to appointment finalized, right? They sign the contract or whatever. You can track that, obviously, as long as you put that information in here. Yeah, so to do either your buyer presentation with your client to do the paperwork or your listing constant, whichever one it is. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we've got all our information in here. We are ready to draw up our listing paperwork. So now you're going to go to the document section. I'm going to collapse this panel just so it's easier for everybody to see. Now, yours, it doesn't automatically select the checklist for you. You have to pick it. So you're going to come here. Obviously, if you're doing a South Carolina one, check South Carolina. If you're doing a North Carolina listing, you're going to select North Carolina. And then these are the other ones that you could potentially use if you're doing a land deal or a commercial deal, which you should not do. Don't do commercial if you're doing residential. But once you pick it, you're going to get a checklist, right? You're going to get the listing part of it, then an under contract checklist, and then the checklist you need for closing. Each of these checklists are godsend, right? This is going to tell you what you need to have in this file in order to get paid. It's that simple, right? So you can click this little button right here, the requirement button, and it's going to move all of the required documents to the top. So for North Carolina, you have to have a working real estate brochure, right? You have to have an actual listing agreement, right? You have to have your disclosures, the residential property disclosure, right? So this tells you everything. So usually these top few are the ones that the commission requires. And then there's some documents that our firm here requires. There's also some that Canopy requires, but they will all be mentioned in here. And then you have your conditional ones. So if you're going to be doing a firm exclusive, then we're going to have a firm exclusive form. If you're doing coming soon, you got to have a coming soon. But those forms are not required unless that's what you're planning on doing. So that's what conditional means. On the buy side, if they're getting an FHA, you're going to need an FHA addendum. But if they're not going FHA, you're not going to need that addendum. Okay. And then you have optional ones. So these are things that if you wanted to put them in here, you can, but you don't have to. The only other thing that I would suggest is to add a new custom folder. And I just call it miscellaneous. MISC. And basically all this is for is anything that is pertinent to this transaction that is not needed for compliance. So what I put in here, a copy of the home inspection report. If they're getting a home warranty, a copy of that invoice. You get a copy of the appraisal, put that in there. If there's any kind of communication that you just want to make sure that you have everything solid all together, put that in here too. If you get copies of floor plans or plats or surveys or anything else that, you know, doesn't need to be there for compliance, but somebody may call you back in a year and ask for it, put it here. That way you've got everything all together and you don't have to comb through all of your emails to try and find the inspection. You just come right back here. Okay.
Separate folders, appraisal.
No. No, because once you have, and you can call it whatever you want. And you can create multiple folders if you want to. You do not have to. But once you're in here, so we're in the miscellaneous folder, you just click add document. You can name the document. What type is it? Pick other, that's fine. But if you've got an inspection, if you've got the pre-approval, put that here under lender. And then you'll just have them all uploaded. I can show you one real quick, what it kind of looks like. So you got your miscellaneous. I have a copy of the survey and the MLS input sheet. I make all my agents fill out a sheet. Since I don't go to the houses, I don't know what's in the house. All right. Any questions about the checklist part of this? All right. I'm going to go to DocuSign now. So once you've picked your checklist over here, you're going to have a button that says, I think it says sync with DocuSign at the start. But I've already synced this one. So now it says go to because I've already created the room. It's the same concept though. All right, and then you're going to put your login and password, and then it's going to bring you to this screen. Now, just ignore what I'm doing right now because I just want to show you guys. Sure, yeah. Yes, that's correct. Yes, it is. So Have you connected your DocuSign to Command? Hit sync, see what happens. Yeah, you should have gotten that login and password. Yep. All right, now my screen has frozen, which is great. So let me try this again. Okay. Get out of my way. Okay. So we're in DocuSign. Now, when you come into this room for the very first time, there is going to be a ton of forms already dropped in here. Yes, it can be very overwhelming to see it. I have already taken some of them out on this particular DocuSign room that I'm showing you. But as long as you have your checklist over here and all you're required over here, you know what is needed of you. You need the working with real estate agents. You need the listing agreement. You have the form numbers here too, 101, 161. Side note, all North Carolina listing paperwork starts with a 1. All North Carolina buyer paperwork starts with a 2. South Carolina is backwards. Their listing paper starts with a 2 and their buyers start with a 1. So that can kind of like quickly help you kind of figure out what you need to do depending on what you're looking for. But you'll see this is a 1, this is a 1. You know what I'm saying? So it's all like that. Okay. So we know we need the work with real estate agent. We know we need the listing agreement. We know we need the addendum to the listing agreement. And this addendum is a Keller Williams form. It is not a commission form. And then you've got your disclosures and the septic and sewer. And these down here are not actual forms that need to be filled out, but they are documents that you just need to provide copies of. Okay. So technically for this listing, I only need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forms right now. Okay. All right. So we go to documents and I've already pulled those forms out. So here's the working with real estate agent number 161. We have the listing agreement 101. Property disclosure is 140, mineral disclosure 141. We have that addendum I was telling you about, and then the septic and sewer. I was trying to put the forms back and it froze my screen, but all of these forms are what's going to originally be in there. So I removed everything I don't need and just left the stuff I needed. And I'm going to show you how to do that. There's a little square right here. If you check these boxes, this toolbar comes up here, right? Sure. In the top left of each form, there's a square. You just put a little check mark in there. Okay. And then this toolbar pops up and then you can hit archive for the forms that you don't need. And that will get them off of this main screen. Some people, it doesn't bother them. To me, it gives me heart palpitations seeing 20 forms up there because I feel like I'm missing something. Up to you. Doesn't matter. As long as you're doing the right forms, it doesn't really matter how. If you need to select all of your forms for any reason, you can click the select all and it'll trigger all of these. Once you've filled out your paperwork, and I'm going to come back to that real quick, but once you fill out all of these paperwork here in the documents section, you're going to check the forms that you need your client to sign. And this is the button you click to go to your envelope. Okay. Now, for all of us old people, we know what snail mail is. We know what an envelope is. All of these youngins have probably never actually physically mailed a letter, right? I actually had somebody on our team. He was 24. He had never mailed a letter. He didn't know what a mailbox was. He didn't know where to put a stamp, how to address an envelope. It blew my mind. But this whole process is mimicking doing that, right? So we're in our documents. We're filling out our letter that we're about to mail, right? That's the document section. And then we need to put it in an envelope, right? And then we're going to address the envelope. And I'm going to go to that in a second, but I want to show you guys how to fill out the paperwork. But just to kind of give you an idea of the process, how these names came up, this is how it came up. All right. So first things first, we need to put all the information in here. Okay. So you're literally going to click on whatever form. I usually start with the bigger document, right? Working with real estate agent is just one piece of paper. I'm going to go to listing agreement because that's the bulk of it. That way I can fill all of that out and it's going to autofill the rest of the documents, right? If I just go to like, say the working with real estate agents first, I'm still going to have to go into the other ones and fill those out because that doesn't have all the information it needs, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do the listing agreement. And if you take nothing from this class, please remember this. Fill out your paperwork in the document section, which is where we are. Do not fill it out in the envelope. It will not save, which means if you made an error or you have to redo the paperwork or changes need to be made, you're going to have to start completely over. If you fill it out right here, it will stay this way. And then you can just come back to it and start another envelope. Sure. Yep. So we're here in the document section. Okay. Just click on the form, whatever form you want to do. Click in the body of it and it'll bring it up. Now, it will fill out stuff that it pulled from command, such as your client's names and the property address if you had that, right? If you're working with the buyer, there's not going to be that. Now, we have templates on our team, and I can show you guys how to do that too. But basically, yours is probably only going to have your client's name and address when you pull this up.
Don't say close, but that's.
Basically, I'm going to show you the envelope too, so you can see what that looks like. But it needs to be on this screen. If you have any icons over here on the left-hand side, you're in the wrong spot. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. All right, but you're going to fill out all the pertinent information, okay? To get the property, legal description, all that stuff, you need to go to Realist, which you can access through the MLS. You need to put an expiration date. You can do, we usually do either 6 months or a year, depending on the property. But you just go and you fill all this out. There's no, I mean, there is a right or wrong on this, but no one's telling you what your commission has to be. No one's telling you what the list price needs to be. That's your job to figure that out. And every deal is going to be different. Well, most of the time. Okay. But you're going to answer all these questions based on whatever your property is that you're doing for a listing, right? And then you get all the way to the end. And you got to put all of your information in the firm section. And once you fill all this out, again, all of this information will autofill to your other forms. So your license number will show up on the other forms. The 14045 Valentine Corporate Place address is going to show up on all your other forms. You do not have to type it multiple times. Okay. I will say this too for compliance. You have to have a seller email, phone number, and mailing address for at least one of the sellers. It will get kicked back if you don't have those 3 things. Again, you have to have an email address, a phone number, and a mailing address for at least one of the sellers. Okay. All right. So once you're done, you're going to hit save and close. And we're going to pretend that we went in and did all these other forms. I don't want to waste your time going through each form. But also know that you cannot fill out a property disclosure or mineral oil and gas on behalf of your seller. They have to fill that out. Right. So the address is going to go ahead and autofill because we already put that in there. And that is the only thing that's going to, and I think their names too on the back side, but that's the only thing. And like I said, it's going to autofill because we already put it on. Yep, any form. That's right. If you did it in the envelope, it would not autofill for you. You would have to type it on every single form that asks for it. All right, so let's pretend we got everything done and I need to send all of these to my client. Now, we do something a little bit different on our team than maybe some people. I send the property disclosure and the mineral oil and gas separate from all the other paperwork. because a lot of times sellers need to take a little bit more time to answer those questions, right? They got to go figure out how old their HVAC is and all that kind of stuff. So I send that in a separate envelope. That way I can have their listing agreement signed ASAP, and I can give them a few more days to do the property disclosure while I order pictures and like do all of that kind of stuff. So that I will uncheck these, and I'm just going to send them the listing paperwork. All right, so this particular one we're going to do coming soon. So I have that in here, working with real estate agents, the addendum to the listing agreement, and the septic and sewer form. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to click on this little pencil so that we can get to the envelope. Now here is where you address your envelope, right? So we represent the sellers on this. So we're the listing agent. So we need the listing agent to sign some of these forms. We have two sellers, a seller 1 and a seller 2. We don't have any buyers because this is listing paperwork. So we're not going to fill those out. And a seller entity is a trust or an LLC, something like that. That would be an entity. All right, and so we're going to continue. And this does take a minute because it has to go in and put in all of the initials in the right spot based on what we're doing. So they're not going to put anything in the buyer slots because we don't have any buyers yet, right? So some of these forms that we're sending out, there's a spot for a buyer to sign, but this is beginning of the listing paperwork, so we don't have a buyer yet. So once you go under contract, you'll need to send some of these forms to the buy side or upload them to the MLS, which we do with disclosures. We upload them. Listing agent is responsible for getting the residential property disclosure and the mineral oil and gas filled out. It is their responsibility to make sure that's done because the seller is the only person who's going to know what's going on with that house. They are the only ones who are going to know if they change the carpet, the flooring. They are the only ones who knows if there was a fire in the kitchen, you know, stuff like that. So the seller has to fill those out. Okay. All right. So we've got the forms lined up here. You have the ability to change the order. So say this loaded the working with real estate agents over here. Just click and drag. Move the form however you want to move it, whatever order you want it to go in, just move it around. Following up on her question, if you have the property disclosure in the MLS, and let's pretend for just a moment that this is buyer paperwork and we're writing an offer, you need your buyers to sign that property disclosure that was filled out by the sellers. That's part of your offer, right? That's going to be a PDF. So you can come here to upload, browse, and then pull the PDF off your computer and load it in here. In this, that's just an example, but any PDF, this is where you'd want to put it in. Yep, exactly. All right, and then I can't remember who it was that was asking me earlier about the trust. This is what she was talking about. So when you go to add recipients, it's going to default to whatever it wants to default to. But we picked a listing agent, a seller 1, and a seller 2. And these are the people that we have in place according to our command system for each of these roles. So PJ's the listing agent. Our seller 1 is test. Our seller 2 is me. That's how I had it in command. That's how it got pulled over. All right. Correct. Yes. Yep. As long as you follow the process, it will all stay together. Absolutely. Now, the cool thing here is you can change the order of these. You see these 1, 2, 3s on the left-hand side. You can change them. So I always want the clients to sign first and have the agent sign second. Here's why. If you did a typo, which there's 12 different ways to spell Brittany, okay? If you spell Brittany's name wrong, Brittany's going to tell you spelled her name wrong. But you don't want her to tell you after you've already signed. You want to know that from the get-go, right? So your clients are going to read these documents before you sign, and they'll let you know if something needs to be changed. Okay. or you put an extra zero on the list price. Things happen, you know? So before you sign, let them take a look at it, make sure they're okay with it. Once they finish signing. Yep, yep, yep. So what will happen is whoever's in the one spot, and you can have 12 people in the one spot if you want, it's going to go to all those people at the same time. As soon as you hit the send button, it's going to go to all of them and then they can sign at their leisure. But it will not go to PJ in the number 2 spot until all of those people sign. Make sense?
Question.
Yeah.
Well, sign and seller too realize there is a mistake. Can we still go to the customer?
Yeah. And you can have like sometimes when you're going to go and talk to your clients, you're going to know who that dominant person is in the relationship. A lot of times it's very apparent who that is, right? And there's sometimes it's the wife, sometimes it's the husband, sometimes it's the son, like you don't know, but whoever that dominant person is, and you know they're very analytical, make them number 1 and then put your person, the other person number 2, right? If they're just one of those people that you know are just going to click, 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 just send it both of them at the same time. Do what? I'm sorry. Well, you can, but you're going to know. You're going to know from talking to your clients. You should never send this paperwork out without speaking to your client first. So you're going to know from your conversation who should be in the number 1 spot, or if you can send it to both of them at the same time, right? Because even if Brittany was number 2, psycho husband number 1 who has to answer every question is going to tell you you spelled Brittany's name wrong, right? So either way, it's fine. Yes, yes, a couple of times. We've had people come into the office with a huge knife, a huge gun on their side, and wanted to assert their dominance and just let us know that they're running the show, not us. You get all kinds of crazy people in this business. All right, so we've got our seller 1 and seller 2. We're gonna have it go to both of them at the same time because they want to go look at houses ASAP. They're just gonna sign and go, right? Now, you can add a recipient. The best example I can give you here is Tasha, our Beck here in the office, has to sign firm exclusives and coming soon forms. So if you are doing that, you'll just hit add recipient and check the firm exclusive and coming soon forms. It'll say on there that her signature is required, but you can have this sent to her after the fact if you need to. And you would click, well, I've put her information in the address book so that I just have to click and do it from here. But if you click that little person and you go to address book, yes, yep. And you can just add that person in that way. You can just type in her name. You can just come here and you can just Tasha Viney. I don't know her email by heart. I think it's Tasha like home in the Carolinas or something. But you can put it in that way. That's fine too. We'll do the exact same thing. Now, all of my agents put me, their transaction person, their operations person last, so that when this form is done and signed by everybody, it's going to automatically come to me. I get a copy of it. That way I don't have to wait for the agent to forward me the email. I get it immediately so I can process that file as quickly as possible. So if you do get a transaction person, I would suggest doing that, okay? And they would just add my name in here, which is not going to work because I'm already up here, and then you'll come over here and hit receives a copy. That way it's not going to make me sign anything. I'm just going to get copies of everything that was signed. This also helps too if you are a buyer's agent writing an offer and you're not going to have access to your phone for the next hour or so. For whatever reason, you have a hair appointment. I don't know what it is, but you're going to your kids' play. Whatever the situation is, you're not going to have this, but you need to get your offer in ASAP to the listing agent. You can add your listing agent last to receive a copy so that after your clients sign the contract, it will go straight to them. That is not best practice, but you can do that if you need to. That would be when you have a time crunch. best practice is to generate an email from scratch, make it very personable, and detail what you are offering, and send it directly to them and attach the documents to that, because that would also need to include your pre-approval, right? All right, but that you have those options here. If you accidentally have an extra person on here for whatever reason, the trash can's right here, you can delete it. Simple, simple. Okay. Now, this is a step that a lot of people miss. Please don't. Go to add message. This is what it defaults to. Complete with DocuSign 161, working with real estate agents. How many of your clients are going to know what that means? None. Unless they're in real estate, that looks like spam. That's the subject of the email and how it comes across to your client. Okay? Please change this. The other benefit of this too is most transactions, you're going to be sending out multiple envelopes, okay, for different reasons. You're doing a price change. You need to add the refrigerator to an offer, whatever it is, right? You're going to have to send stuff out multiple times. This is also how you organize your envelopes. So for listing paperwork, since that's what we're doing, I do please sign listing docs for 123 Main. I hate typing on a different computer. Okay, that's very apparent what this is. This is listing paperwork for 123 Main Street. Very simple. I know what that means. They're going to know what that means, right? For a buyer, I just do please sign buyer docs. For the disclosures, because I told you I send the disclosures separately, I do please answer all questions for 123 Main Street. Okay, and I do answer all questions in bold because a lot of people, they'll just go in and click, 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 and none of the questions are answered. So be very specific. And then you can put a message in here if you want to. The only time I really do that is if I have like elderly people, they kind of need a little more further instruction. They're not tech savvy. Sometimes I'll put some information in there just so they, know what they're doing. But 90% of the time, this is blank for me. Yes, you can print out paperwork. So I think it's on the next screen though. Yeah, it's on the next screen. I just lost everything I did. I'm gonna be mad. Yep, I did. That's okay. Boom. Give me a second. Okay, all that's there. All right, so let me make sure the recipients are in here. Yeah, okay. All right, so this is the envelope. This is the section that you do not fill paperwork out. Everything should be done at this point. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a great way to double check, make sure everything's right. If you do need to make a correction, you can go ahead and do that here. Just know it will not be changed on your original document. Okay, and you'll just have to go back to your original document and fix it as well, right? But this is a great chance to just make sure everything's there. So, all right, let's do, for instance, I didn't check these boxes. I can come in here. If you hit the space bar, it'll check the box. If you double click, it'll also check the box. Or hit the space bar.
I thought like, no, I just press, like the check mark. I thought, that's the I like to press it, but they more is fine.
Right. So the check marks, radio buttons, which is like a multiple choice things, those will never be required from your client. If you can, you should fill those out. Yeah. Right.
I'm just gonna highlight where
Right. So for instance, like with the property disclosure, actually, let me do this real quick.
And to do the alpha check mark by yourself, you just space, right? Double space, stuff like that, right? or double click.
Yes, check mark, double click, or just hit the space bar. I'd have to see it to see where you were at, but I just want to,
Regarding septic, no, like they mentioned, their septic is good, there's no septic and the water, city water is connected, and that's, okay.
yep, yep. All right. So I have added the residential property disclosure to this because I want you to see what it looks like. So see how it has all these radio buttons. There's places for check boxes to fill in information, all that kind of stuff. This is why I send this separately to the sellers, because none of these going to force anybody to answer those questions. The reason why is because if we force them to answer all of these, then all of these are going to be checked.
Yeah.
They have to pick, right? And it's the same thing with the radio buttons, the same thing with these text boxes, because it may not apply to them. So they're not, we're not going to force them to fill it out, right? So if you've got a click happy person, which a lot of people are nowadays, they just click, click, click and don't even read what they're doing, then the only thing you're going to get back on the disclosure is initials and signatures with nothing answered, because it's not forcing them to answer, right? So those will never force them to answer. Now, I will show you this over here on the right-hand side. If you click on a box, okay, you're going to have these here read-only required fields, which you can do, but please don't. Okay, you can require them to fill this in, right? It will, and if it's a required field, it'll always be filled in like that. But only do that when it's absolutely necessary. Like if you want them to fill in their current address, say you don't have their current address and I don't want them to finish this document without giving me that information, that would be a good time. You could do that, right? Make it a required field. But all of these are going to be optional on this disclosure for that very reason. Does that make sense? All right. So over here on the left-hand side, I've kind of messed this up, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. We have a test, which is our seller one, is green. Okay. Ignore all these extra ones that are in here. It's because I added another form. But Jenna Kelly was seller 2, and PJ was the listing agent, right? That's what we picked. So there's all different colors, which I love. It makes it very easy to the eyes to make sure you've got the right people in the right spots, right? So down here we have test, who is green, is going to sign here. And then Jenna Kelly, who was purple, right, is going to sign here. These are automatically put in the system for you. You do not have to drop these in there, okay? Because we've assigned those spots. So come down here, same thing. Green, purple, blue. Here we go, have optional fields again. These are the ones that are not filled in. Here's why. This is for public marketing, meaning it's going to go into the MLS. This one down here is office exclusive, meaning it's just a firm exclusive listing, at least for now, which means it cannot go in the MLS. So you have to pick one or the other, right? So let's say this one is going to be a coming soon. To delete these, you click outside, drag, and it will highlight both of them. And you just hit the delete button on your keyboard. Woo, about knocked that down. And then to highlight these, we're going to do that again, drag these, and we're going to come over here and hit required, and it's going to fill those in, which means it's going to force them to sign. Does that make sense? Okay. We're going to keep going here. We've got all of our check boxes done, initials, blah, blah, blah. Here's another optional. So this is dual agency. Before you send any of this paperwork to your client, you should have already had the conversation about dual agency with them. Okay, so we are not going to make them decide what they want to do here. You guys should have made that decision at the time you talked about this form or talked about dual agency and explained that to your client. So our firm wants us to do may act as dual agent, which all sellers should. We have over 600 agents in this office. If they say no, that means you cannot show any houses by any of the agents at our firm, which is going to highly limit them. So I don't know why any sellers would do that. But anyway, so these ones that say not, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to delete those. So we're going to highlight all 4 of these, hit the delete button on your keyboard, and do the same with this one up here. We're going to just take those initials out, and then we're going to force them required over here on the right-hand side to pick the correct ones. Yes. 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 If you have not had the conversation, do not do this. Because again, they're going to be click happy and you're not going to have anything initialed in this section because those are optional forms. So it's not going to force them to answer unless you force them to answer. Hopefully that makes sense. Correct. Yeah, it would skip over it. Yeah.
For each individual forms, a lot of that's the transactional partner will help us, right?
With explaining the form, is that what you mean?
Make sure I did everything correct.
Probably not. You can. Here's the thing. You should be able to practice doing these prior to actually doing one. Yes, that would be with your transaction partner. But if you're preparing listing paperwork at 9 p.m. at night for an appointment at 9 a.m. in the morning, you're not going to have time for your transaction partner to check it. Make sense? So you need to be able to practice this prior to actually needing to do it. And then you'll have the right way to do it. You can also create templates, which I do suggest. That is a little more advanced. But what that is preparing a form completely by answering all of the normal questions, filling out all of the normal information, and then you apply that template every single time so that you only have to answer like 4 questions, right? Most of the time, a lot of these are going to be the same for every single person. I can show you how to do that. Yeah. Hold on, my boss is yelling at me. Okay. But yeah, so at this part, you're just going to go in, make sure everything's good to go, blah, 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 blah. Now, so this is what I was telling you before. We need a phone number and an email address and a mailing address. You have to have their email address, otherwise you can't send this document to them to begin with. But you should already have their phone number, but you might not have their mailing address. So you see how this is gray? And it even says, if you highlight it, it says optional right there at the top. You see that? So what I always do here is I just delete this whole line because gray means that it's not directed to anybody in specifically. Okay. So we need this directed to our dominant person, which is our seller 1. Where's he at? It was test, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do that, change it to test, and then I'm going to apply a text box. So he's green. So I'm going to do this. And then you can change the size of this text box. You can make it smaller, you can make it bigger. So you have the ability to change that. This way, when it gets to Mr. Test, he has to put in his mailing address or he cannot finish this document. But that's how you do that. Now, if you needed to strike through something for whatever reason, that's where this little pin right here, you'll come, this is what a line. This is a strike through. You're going to click in front of whatever you need to strike through and then click at the end and that will strike through something. These, like I said, are text messages or grayed out boxes, which means that everybody on this transaction is going to be able to see it. So this text box that's green, Mr. Test is the only one who's going to see it until everybody has signed. But if you have a gray text box filled in, every single person when this document goes to them is going to see what it is. Believe me, I know this is a ton of information. It is a lot. I don't expect you to remember all this, huh? So like say you were just going to cross out a price and change the price anything like that, you know, just depends on what you need it for. Hmm? Or something. Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. Yeah, anything at all. Yes, everyone on this transaction would see it when it comes to them. It'll be there. And then if you need to add an initial, just click that person's color. You can make it bigger, smaller, depending on your situation. You've also got your signature, same thing. You can make it bigger or smaller. You got your date, which is exactly like with this, the default's there. Yep, yep. And then, you know, go to Jenna if she needs her initials on here as well. It will mimic the size of the previous one you clicked on, which is great. Now, say you needed to put in multiple initials multiple times. The mineral oil and gas form, if you're the buyer, is a great example of that form that you have to do back to back. So in order to duplicate, if you come out here and you highlight both of these and you hit Control C and then Control V, you'll have both of them. Control C, Control V, which is copy and paste. Control C, Control V. I think if you have an Apple, it's Command, but the same thing. But that's how you can do it multiple and just save you some time so you don't have to drag one every single person. Okay. All right, and the last thing I want to show you on this envelope here is if you go over to the send button, this will send out to your clients. But if you, for some reason, need to delay sending it out, you can send it later. What do you mean?
All the documents are already in the envelope.
Yeah, yeah, they're all here. I just didn't go through all of them with you, but they're all here. They're all filled out. But yeah, so when you go to send it, it's not letting me do it because I didn't finish doing everything, but you can send it later. And the best example I can give you of why you would want to send it later is if you're going to be out showing houses all day to another client, but you know that you're going to do a Zoom call with somebody at 5 and you want them to have those documents at that time, you can get everything prepared and then schedule it to go to them at 5 o'clock so that they have it right when their appointment is with you, so that they can see the documents that you're talking about while you're on your Zoom call. Something like that, because you're not going to have time during the day to prepare it any other way. So you can do it that way. If you realize that you need to change the message, the recipients, or the documents for any reason, you can do it from right here instead of having to go back to your previous screen and losing where you're at. So you can click edit recipients and come in here and change an email address. I've had clients call me while I'm in the middle doing their paperwork. Hey, can you send it to my work email instead? Yep, sure can. So you just come right here and just change that email address right here while you're in the middle of just doing all this. Okay. All right. All right, so that was, oh, it's not gonna let me get out of here because I did everything wrong. Trying to do too many things at one time is gonna make me delete all these blank ones. Yeah, yes, because I can remember which ones I've done wrong. Okay, oh, now my screen's froze again. Oh my gosh. Come on. The last thing I wanted to show you was the templates that you had asked about, how to do those. And again, I don't expect any of y'all to remember any of this today until you get in and actually, yeah. And until you get in and you have to do it yourself, that's how most people learn. You've got to actually click on it and see it for yourself. So, by the way, since I'm right here, if you ever log into DocuSign and your screen looks like this, you are not in the right space. If you come over here to it'll be your picture or your initials or something like this, you need to switch to rooms. So this screen right here is the basic DocuSign that any person in the whole entire world can have access to. But to get to the Keller Williams version with our forms, you're going to have to come over here and hit switch to rooms. Okay. And then you'll see the word rooms right here, and you'll see your KW over here. So now you know you're in the right spot. Okay. Now, while you're in, you have, well, no, technically you don't have to. Any screen that you're at, you'll see the My Documents up here at the top. This is where you go to create your templates. Now, I only have templates for buyer agreements, listing agreements, and contracts for both states. So technically 6 templates is what I have set up for every one of my agents. You can do more. You can do other forms, but those are the forms that have the most meat in them that have to be filled out, right? Have the most information. So I've created those templates. So if you just scroll down to, we're going to start with listing agreements, the first one I see. And you come over here to the right-hand side, you hit the little ticker for the listing agreement, create template. It's super simple. And then you just go in and fill out. I'll show you what I've done here. And you can name your template whatever you want. I do have a couple agents on my team that work in different markets. I have one that covers Charleston, and I also have one that covers Western North Carolina. So I have templates dedicated for those different areas as well. But this is all filled out with all the basic stuff. So like 99% of the time, these are what the answers are going to be. So I just go ahead and fill them out. I can change that while I'm actually doing the documents and putting in the address and all that stuff. So you can go back and change these, but these are the basics that I have for everybody. But this is where you fill out your template. This is where you put your license number, the firm's license number, address, phone, all that kind of stuff. All of that will be filled out in here. And then when you go to do your form, where's the one I was just in? So we just did a template for our listing agreement. If you right click, you'll hit apply form template. If this option doesn't show up, you don't have a template made. Fairly simple. Come over here, apply form template doesn't even show up because I don't have a template for that, but I do for this one. And that's all you gotta do for a template. It's gonna take you a hot minute to actually like create it, but in the long run, it's gonna save you a lot of time. All right, so that's all the basic stuff. 4 or 5 times. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Highlight, request the commission and stuff like that.
Filling out the commission part and command, is that what you're talking about?
Like,
Or are you talking about the compensation form?
it's more like, I know it's specific for KW. but commission-
Yeah, so that's actually in command. So when you're in your transaction, in your opportunity, there's this button here, offers and commission. Okay, so once you have all 3 of these sections approved, listed, under contract, closed, that gives you the approval to get your commission, basically. But this is where you'll come in and you just hit add new offer and you fill everything out. You fill out all the basic stuff that you need, what your 3%, 2.5%, whatever it is, if there's a bonus, when did it close, blah, blah, blah. You get all that, and then it will go to, let's see, I don't want to do this. But let me go to another one real quick that's already filled out so you can see it. Okay, do I have this one done yet? Nope. Okay, this one's getting ready to close, so I know it's done. Okay, so this is what it looks like once you've filled out the offer part of it. And then it'll have you fill all this part out. Now, yours is just going to default to yours because you're not sharing your commission with anybody besides Keller Williams. So, but we have splits on our team. Okay, so ours is going to look a little bit different than y'all's, but it'll have your commission rate here, the total commission amount. If you've got a bonus or if there's a referral being paid out, this is where all of that would be filled out. Okay, you would hit the edit buyer commission and just fill out that information right there. But over here on the right hand side is what you want to see. This will be your breakdown. Okay, this is how much is being taken out for associate royalty and for the office, and it will have what your final paycheck would be at the bottom. Okay, so it'll have that breakdown for you. But it's pretty self-explanatory. The only time it kind of gets crazy is if you do have a referral or a bonus because that's an extra step you got to take, but it's pretty simple. And then you'll just hit request or whatever, and then you'll get a notification up here in this little bell when Lynn approves your commission. And she usually does that the same day or the next day. Yeah, no problem. Everybody wants to get paid. All right. Oh, I just now saw the chat. Sorry. Okay, I already fixed that. Okay, cool. All right, any other questions?
I had a quick one, Jenna. When you're in documents and you've created a document and it's come back signed, I get that certification. Do we need to save those?
No.
I
No,
can delete them?
yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. It's just a track record of when you sent the form out, when they opened it, when they completed it. It's just a timeline thing. You don't need those.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was your question? What did you have?
How about say
Okay, you have to make sure you sign up through Canopy through DocuSign. I can show you how to do that. Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, that's it. I'm gonna head on out. Yeah. No problem. And my whole class next week is gonna be all DocuSign. So I'll be doing this again, plus going into more detail. It is a lot, I know.